So today I'm going to show you my seed starting setup, and I'll show you that's set up in my garage, and then I'll be planting some seeds here, and then we'll kind of put the whole thing together and bring it in and then get this round of seeds set up. So usually I'm planting seeds, like I'll do enough to go on my heat mats, and then once those are germinated I'll plant another round, and then I'll move those off the heat mats and bring in more things to start out germination. I'm showing you my setup for seed starting that's in my garage, and it's just one of these lightweight plastic shelves that you can put together, and my son Duke did this for me years ago, and he did such a great job because he set up like the electrical all to one side. So I'll kind of go through that when I close in on this a little bit more. But basically it's just a 4-shelf plastic unit, and like I said, it's the lighter duty. It's not one of the real heavy duty shelves because you don't really need that for this. And then here we have like a hook in the wall, and it allows me to clamp on these clamp lights. So I have some of these, and then I have some of the longer lights. I'll show you that to you in a minute. But I love these clamp lights. These are from Home Depot because I can clamp it onto any part of this shelf, and then I can adjust the light. So here you see one way that I've kind of clamped it on here, and then this I'm going to use in the heat mat area because I like to get the lights close to the ceilings. And this light bulb that I have in here is a fluorescent light, so it's a cooler light, but it allows me to change these out. So in the past I've put in like grow lights, I've put in like the warm incandescent lights, and right now I have fluorescent lights. So I like using the fluorescent lights because they stay cool. So if I need to, I'll switch those out for some incandescent lights that warm things up more. And I would probably do that after this phase of like germinating, where plants are sitting on the heat mat. So here I can have the light close to them, but I'm not burning them with heat. So I do kind of switch these out. So I have several of these clamp lights, and right now I'm just showing you the ones that, like the one on the side here, because normally I would have a light right in the front, like kind of pointing back. So the fact that we can see it, I want to leave that off for the moment. So I have a power strip set up on the right, and you can see I kind of have this seed heat mat kind of backwards, and that's because the cord is out near where it's going to get plugged in. So this is like a surge protector and a power strip, and I have the ability to just shut it off. So on the bottom shelf I have long lights that are just under cabinet lights for the kitchen. They're like very inexpensive fluorescent lights, and I have 3 of them down there, and they're just the kind that you plug in, so not the kind that you would have to worry about hard wiring or anything. So I just have 3 of those, and then they're bungeed to the shelf. And that way I could, when I had this originally set up, I could add more, I could take some away. So I believe I ended up buying more and adding more lights in here. So I think I have 3 at this point. But it just gives it a nice amount of light. And again, they're fluorescent ones that plug in. Very inexpensive. But it kind of depended on what I could find at the time. But I like having that just like permanently set up on my lowest shelf. And then it has that heat mat as well. So of 4 shelves, I have 2 shelves that have heat mats. And originally I had wanted to get like 4 heat mats, but practically speaking, once the plants germinate, I'm tending to move those right off the heat mats. So when I had more, it just wasn't working out, like from a practical point of view. So now I just have 2 of them on 2 shelves, and then I have the other 2 shelves that I can be moving small plants around once they actually germinate. And that seems to work well. So here you can see I have just a shot of these lights, so you understand what kind of lights I'm talking about. And these are just usually kitchen under cabinet lights, but then you can just plug them right in. So here I'm just coming back outside, and this day is kind of overcast and a little drizzly, but it's kind of a nice day to plant things. This is the kind of day I would love to transplant things as well. So I'm just taking some containers, and I am kind of careful about the containers that I use. And this is just from years of planting seedlings. I feel like for me, I like deeper containers. So a lot of times you'll have really shallow containers that are sold as like seed starting containers. But for me, number one, I prefer the clear ones. But I also like them 3 or 4 inches deep, because I find that when plants germinate, they tend to want to set some deep roots. And a lot of these seed starting containers I don't think are deep enough. So that's what I look for. And most of these are just grocery store containers. The one that I'm putting dirt in now was just something I got fruit, like a fruit sampler kind of a thing. And it's a nice big container, and it's deep. It's like at least 3 or 4 inches deep. So I'm going to fill this with dirt, and then I'm going to plant carnations in here. And again, over the years, I would plant things in individual pots or individual plant cells, and I just started moving away from that. I'd rather mass plant in like one of these containers, and then I can kind of monitor. I do spread them out in it, so I'm not having seed on top of seed, but I do kind of spread them out. But I find like when you get a packet of seeds, there's not that many seeds in there. You know, some of them there are, but typically I can mass plant a packet of seeds, and then I can just see how many are germinating. And then if I need to pop them out, I usually use like a plastic spoon, and I'll pop them out and put them in another container at that point. So I have kind of moved more towards mass planting, because I can just plant a lot more things. And in a container like this, usually I can have all the seedlings growing together, and they're usually okay. I just don't let it go too long, because if they go too long, they'll start entangling with each other, and I don't want that to happen. But this is just completely personal preference for me. So these are really pretty pink carnations, and the variety is Chabad Giant, and it's a perennial. So carnations really like to grow in really warm conditions. So I am excited to get these on the heat mats and under the lights, and then just like this great container that has a good lid for it so that everything stays nice and moist, and just really good, like a greenhouse condition. So I think these will pop up, and I think this is going to be great. But some of the colors in this packet, it goes from like vanilla, and then like almost like a cream color, and then there's really soft pinks and bright pinks, and then it goes really to a fuchsia color. So just a great mix of colors in this seed packet, and I'm very excited about this. So I'm going to just make sure that I get every single seed out of this packet. And because, every single little plant, if we're talking about perennials here, very much worth all the time and effort that goes into planting these different things. And I can plant them all over my yard. I don't have to plant them all in this one garden. So the garden I'm in front of right now is my bird garden. And that's kind of the garden right now where I'm putting most new things. But, I have a whole yard full of gardens that I can plant these in. So I'm really excited about it, because these colors are absolutely beautiful. So as long as we can get them to germinate, it will be really well worth it. So my dianthus last year were just a star, and I have all different colors of those as well. They mostly go from like pinks to fuchsias to reds. So I have this great lid with this too, which is, it pops up 1 inch or 2. So this is great for seedlings germinating. So I'm hoping this container works out. So I usually use my containers a couple years or a few years, and then I'll switch out for something else. But this year I'm doing like all new containers. So this is like a half a hoagie container. And again, I think this is like perfect for seed starting, because it's clear, which is what I would prefer. And then it's just like the perfect size, because I like to plant things when I put them on the heat mats, I'm really moving them around quite a bit, and it's a lot easier to move around containers that are smaller. So in this case, I'm going to be planting quite a few seeds in here, So I'm putting some Sweet William in this, and Sweet William like to germinate in cold temperatures, so these are not going to go on the heat mats. I'm doing the whole seed packet here. So some seeds I would, be more careful with and maybe do fewer seeds to the pack, but with these Sweet William and carnations, that was like my goal this year, is to really try to plant these. So I want to use every seed that I have to try to grow these this year. So other things like, let's say broccoli, I will take like a few seeds out of the pack and then save the rest of the pack. I mean, seeds are so expensive right now that I definitely don't want to waste anything. But with these flowers, I feel like if I can get them germinating, then I'm going to be really careful to kind of like individually pot them all up and then get them out in my garden. So really wanted to kind of maximize the number of plants I was growing this year for these flowers. So again, this packet also says to plant them 1/4 inch deep, and I'm just going to barely cover them. So these Sweet William also are in the kind of the same color grouping, so like the whites and the pinks, and they go to like fuchsia and maybe a little bit to red. And I'm going to try very hard to keep these really moist. So luckily my seed starting area that's in my garage is right on the way to my washer and dryer, so I'm always going past it and I'm always watching what is happening with these seedlings, and that seems to help a lot. I've had other years where I tuck the shelf away somewhere where I don't tend to like see it very often, and then I had more difficulty and less success because I just wasn't paying attention to what was going on as much. So I feel like if I can just keep looking at them and just checking them and make sure they're not drying out, it seems to be more successful when I'm really on top of it. So here I'm just gonna start another planter here. So this is again from the deli at my grocery store. I just got like cheese cubes in these containers, but again, it's kind of what I'm looking for this year, something that's clear, something that's at least 3 or 4 inches deep. And then this, I know I can plant quite a few seeds in here, and then so I'm probably doing like 10 or 12 red pepper seeds. So for me, for red peppers, I like to have a lot of plants because I feel like I don't get as many peppers as I would tomatoes. Like tomatoes are plants that this year I'm going to plant like 5. So I just don't want to have so much that I can't take care of them. But peppers, I'll maybe plant 10 or 12 different plants. So like I said, I'm doing 2 varieties, and they're not all going to come up, and they're not all going to live. So I'm probably going to plant twice as many seeds as what I expect to get for plants. But I love red peppers. I think as many as I can harvest, I will at least freeze, definitely eat. So I do like to plant a lot of red peppers. And again, just making sure to label all of these things and which varieties which, because I do try to be observant about what varieties are doing better than others. But, if you're going to like Home Depot getting seeds, red peppers, you have these 2 main varieties a lot of times, and that's the Chinese Giant and then the California Wonder. So those I'm used to growing year from year, and I haven't really noticed one is better than the other, so I just usually grow them both. So as far as where I'm going to plant these, like the tomatoes and the red peppers, I have a vegetable garden back here, and I'm going to plant some in there. But then I also have this spot in front of my house, and it seems like that's where these things actually prefer to grow. And it's just kind of funny. It's like right outside my door. So I'm definitely going to plant several red peppers there and at least 1 tomato plant there, because I guess it's just the way that this one spot is. It's probably like a 4-foot square area, but it just has like a lot of sun exposure, and for some reason the vegetables really like to grow in this one spot, even though it may not be like the most convenient spot for me, because like I said, it's like right outside of my door. but I am going to plant some of the things there as well. Now these are the Abe Lincoln tomatoes, and I think I said in a different video that I've only bought one pack of Abe Lincoln tomatoes, and then I just collect the seeds. So year after year, I just use collected seeds to grow these, and these are very reliable. And then also they're so great that a lot of times they're just self-seeding in the garden. So I'll be planting my plants out, and I'm having shoots come up from where my tomatoes were last year. So this is a great variety. I absolutely love Abe Lincoln tomatoes. Once I started growing these, then this was just the main tomato that I grow. So I will add in other varieties just for fun or to try something new here and there. But as far as like my main crop of tomatoes, this is it. So love this variety. So I'll say it's a beefsteak kind of. So it's like a beefsteak tomato, but not the kind you would think of that we have now that are so huge. This one is just, I would say, a normal sized tomato, but it's like a beefsteak type style. And I just love it. I think it's so great. And I especially love things that I can just collect the seed and keep growing them year after year. I just think that's the way it's supposed to be. So as much as you can do that as a gardener. I do have some varieties of lettuce that I let go to seed, and then I collected the seeds from that, and I got thousands of lettuce seeds. But I do like to plant those, and then also any varieties of seed packets I can get for lettuce too. So I like to grow any kind of lettuce I can. I really think that's fun to have all different kinds of lettuce and broccoli. I'll just try all different kinds from year to year. So I do have a video about planting lettuce and broccoli. So I did just the 2 of those in one container. So I do have that video coming up as well. And those are great, reliable plants that will just always pop up and give you a lot of success. So now I'm just really wetting these down, you can tell. So, you know, other gardeners will say that they worry about overwatering at this stage. For me personally, I feel like I just need to keep misting these plants. And the one that I'm using it's a craft sprayer, like a Tim Holtz sprayer that you get like at the craft store. But it's just such a great quality sprayer that I definitely use it in my gardening as well as like crafting. And it's small, but you know, just keep refilling it. But it's just so great for the plants. So because you know, if you're misting it, it's like you mist it and all the dirt blows away and stuff. But this one you can, it's almost like a variable thing. You can kind of control how the mist is coming out. So it's a really gentle thing for the plants. So now I'm using, this is the last thing I'm planting. So I'm using an egg carton, which for me is like controversial because I love the idea of it, but when I use these, I feel like the plants germinate well and germinate better, and that's why I'm doing this time. I'm doing more Sweet William in here. I'm just trying all different things with this Sweet William to see what would work best. I bought several different packets to kind of experiment with, but I feel like they might germinate well in here. But then as far as using egg cartons, what typically happens to me is that then the seedling will immediately kind of grab onto the bottom of that egg carton. And so when I'm transplanting it, I'm having to rip that root out. And then the plant doesn't make it. So for me, that's why it's kind of controversial. But I'm going to germinate these in this egg carton, and then I'm just quickly going to use like a plastic spoon and just scoop it out and transplant them quickly. So I'll just see how that works. So I think that the trick to germinating plants, and plants of all different varieties, is just, in my opinion, just to baby them. So you can kind of see when seedlings are like shooting up and they might be trying to get more light. So then you raise them up, give them a little extra light. Or you can see when they're drooping, they might need water. You can also see if they're turning yellow, so maybe they're getting too much light. So I just feel like I just try to watch everything that's happening with the seedlings and then just kind of alter the growing conditions. Or if they seem very happy, then I leave them in those growing conditions. So I do think a lot of just having success in growing plants from seed is just paying attention to the plants and what they seem like they are liking and maybe what they're not liking, and then just like vary that accordingly. So for me, I'm going from my indoor seed starting and then I'm kind of shuffling them back and forth out to my greenhouse. Where you see in the seed packet that it needs to be like warmer in order to germinate, those are the seeds that you want to put on your heat mat. So other seeds, it will tell you that they could be planted outdoors or something where it kind of says that they need cooler germinating conditions. So those I would put on the other shelves, or in some cases I will bring them out to my greenhouse. So I'll be showing you that soon. So here I'm just watering deeply from the bottom, and I know I'm being kind of sloppy here but I want that water in the bottom of these seed starting things, and then I'll be spraying from the top. But this watering will last them a few days. So on my heat mats, it also lists the plants that are better germinated on the heat mat. So that's kind of nice. It gives you like a cheat sheet there. So here I'm also going to cover these containers that have lids for them. And then the ones that don't, I'm going to wrap them with plastic wrap. And both of these methods work well because I can just kind of move that plastic wrap to the side and spray these a few times a day. Because when you are growing under lights, they will dry out quicker. And then also on the heat mat, they will dry out quicker. So that's why I'm always checking them to make sure that they have enough water and they don't look dried out. So it is kind of surprising like how quickly they can dry out on these heat mats. And then the fluorescent lights dry them out less than if I had like super warm lights, but they will still dry the soil out. So that's why I'm always checking them and always spraying them and always being careful about that. So these plants I'll be moving around to different shelves, and it just depends on when I see things starting to pop up. I might rotate them, or I'll just be doing all different things to get them to the point where they're germinating. And that's when it really starts being a lot of work, because then you need to transplant into like individual containers. So we'll be working on that next. So thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you coming along for me starting these seeds this year. It's a pretty fun time of year. And the next thing that we're going to do is get out into the greenhouse. So hope to see you soon. Thank you.